foster it.
You don't have to look so happy about it. Let's bring in our first guest, though. Josh Frydenberg, the Assistant Treasurer. Thanks for being there.
Nice to be with you, Peter.
Who's right, in your opinion? Is Scott Morrison right when he suggests a referendum would be a good way to go? Or is the Attorney-General and the first law officer in the land right when he says that Scott Morrison has rocks in his head?
Well, a couple of points. I mean, firstly, George Brandis makes the very persuasive and correct legal point, which is that the Parliament does have the power to make laws in relation to same-sex marriage, and the High Court made that very clear just 2 years ago.
So Morrison's right?
And Scott Morrison, no, because Scott Morrison clearly knows the history of the High Court and the judgment 2 years ago, and Scott Morrison's argument in favour of a referendum is based on the fact that it should be a binding vote and it should be a compulsory vote.
So George Brandis missed the point?
Plebiscites are... No, they've just come at it from different points. My personal view is that we should have a plebiscite. I think that's sufficient, and as George Brandis makes very clear, the Constitution doesn't need to be changed in order for the law to change in relation to recognising same-sex couples. That's my personal view.
So, Josh Frydenberg, why hasn't your leader, Tony Abbott, made clear what the process will be from this point? Because this type of division is just
he doesn't know yet.
Well, this type of division is just going to continue. As Malcolm Turnbull said, it's going to continue up to the election and beyond if this isn't resolved.
Well, Christina, we've actually had a 6-hour constructive, respectful debate in our party room where people came to this issue from different angles for different reasons, based on religion, based on morality, based on their own personal experiences. That, I think, was a very healthy debate, and I think now we have got a process for going forward. Now,
well,
the Prime Minister has been the process is that the Cabinet, the leadership group and ultimately the party room will decide ahead of the next election whether we go down a plebiscite path, a referendum path. But what the Prime Minister underlined to the party room is that the next Parliament will not see a binding position on members. I think that's a significant development. Clearly, my views are well known on this issue. I argued strongly for a free vote. But there was a clear majority against that in the party room. I respect that as my colleague's decision, and I think we can look forward to taking to the election a position to get this issue dealt with by the Australian people.
So you respect your colleague's decision not to respect your right for a conscience vote?
Absolutely. I respect I respect the fact that everyone's had their view, and I was in the minority.
But how can the Prime Minister give a commitment that there will not be a binding vote next term of Parliament, when in fact the party room has determined overwhelmingly that the binding vote should remain? What's going to change between now and the next time this goes to your party room to give credence to what the Prime Minister said?
Well, what the party room made very clear was that they didn't want to change the policy during this term of government. What, though, the party room also decided was that we would go forward with this different approach to the next election, which was to allow the Australian people a say. Now, that is a development on our side, and I think allowing the Australian people to have their say could be a very good way to settle this issue, which will be in the course of the next Parliament.
Let me ask you about another issue, obviously, Dyson Heydon. What on earth was the New South... And I've defended the Justice. I don't like the attacks on his integrity. I'm not even sure if he knew this was a Liberal Party fundraiser when he accepted it, and even if he did, when people like Murray Gleeson have done it before, I don't think it questions his impartiality. That said, though, Josh Frydenberg, it's such a bad look for a Royal Commissioner who has to have all removal of doubt about any suggestion, even a squeaky suggestion about impartiality being in play. What on earth was the New South Wales Liberal Party doing inviting someone who they knew was serving as the Royal Commissioner on this issue? I mean, whoever invited him should literally be run out of the party.
Well, that's certainly a question that I think they need to answer. But in terms of Dyson Hayden. I mean, I thought, Christina, your comments that his competence should be called into question is outrageous, because he spent a decade on the High Court. He's been the Dean of the University of Sydney Law School. He's known as an eminent, respected jurist and somebody of complete integrity.
I've been defending him. It's Christina Keneally and the Labor Party that have been laying in.
What I said is it left open the question of his competence, because he's been invited to something and he didn't. Neither he nor his office, it would appear, took the time to find out exactly what he's been invited to. I mean, the alternate explanation is that he knew and still accepted. He's saying that's not the case, so we can only assume that nobody managed to find out what the nature of the event
Should all the
actually
details
was.
be released, Josh Frydenberg, just to clear this up once and for all? I would like to see the details released to clear the kind of Labor smear campaign going on against the Justice.
Well, as George Brown has told your program, that's not an issue for us to decide. That's a matter for them. But as far as I'm concerned, Justice Hayden's... Well, if the Liberal Party decides to release that information,
Aren't you a member of the Liberal Party? Aren't you a senior member of the Liberal Party?
Future leader, I would say.
I would say, don't you have a view on this? I mean, I got to think, Josh Frydenberg, if the shoe was on the other foot, you would be demanding that the Labor Party ensure that all that information was released. Come on, can't you say that they should release that information?
No, I won't say that they should release that information. Dyson Hayden's made it very clear he's not appearing at this Garfield Barwick event. I think that should be the end of it. But the Labor Party has been trying to shoot the messenger from the day one of this Royal Commission. The point about this Royal Commission is that it has found that the credibility of Bill Shorten's evidence has been questioned. There has been issues about donations that are made. No, in terms of the donations that have been made.
You're not preempting the findings again, are you, Josh Frydenberg? You did that with the finance inquiry into Bronwyn Bishop when you told me she won't resign and she never will.
Well, I was wrong on that one, but I'll take that one on the chin. But in terms of the Royal Commission, there has been serious questions raised about donations to the Labor Party, donations to Bill Shorten, deals between the unions and in which Bill Shorten was involved, and that shortchanged the workers. These have been very serious questions, and Brendan O'Connor and Bill Shorten and other members of the Labor Party have been trying to shoot the messenger from day one. We should recognise what this attack is, and it's an attack on the credibility of the Commissioner, and we should allow them to get on with the business of producing a serious report.
It would be remiss of us, Josh Frydenberg, not to ask you one portfolio question before we let you go. The government wants to talk about growth and jobs. That's the talking points that have been distributed to the backbench. It's what the leader has been saying.
I'm going to mark him down on this.
I've got the talking points. They've been sent to me.
He hasn't used that phrase yet.
He's about to now. But here's my question, though, Josh Frydenberg. You want to talk about jobs and you want to talk about growth. What about the fact that the Reserve Bank says that growth is anemic and is likely to stay low for some time to come? And what about the fact that the unemployment rate is the highest it's been in over 20 years?
Well, growth is from the Reserve Bank is actually within our budget forecast, is point one. The second point about the 6.3% unemployment rate is that we saw a higher participation rate, but we've seen more than 330,000 jobs being created in this life of this government. We've got a debate now about a real job creator, which is the China-Australia Free Trade Agreement, which Labor is running a xenophobic campaign on.
That's because
we've seen business confidence. We've seen business confidence up for the highest levels in 2 years. We've seen our budget be very well received. We've seen our export volumes up 8% year on year. We've seen our building and construction up 17%. We've seen the lowest interest rates in 45 years. I actually think there's some good green shoots across the economy, and you'd rather be here than nearly anywhere else in the world.
That's true.
Well, that part is true. I'm going to take issue. I don't. The number. Oh, says the American citizen sitting next to me.
We're going to move on, or else Andrew Lee's not going to get any time on this program.
Well, we do need to move on. Josh Frydenberg, thank you for joining us.
We've got questions.
Yeah, you get the question time.
Question time.
I've got a feeling the questions might be in another portfolio area.
Yeah, I think they probably will.
Let's take a quick break, shall we? When we come back, Andrew Lee.